Hey y'all, welcome to the Filling Station. Y'all, I am so excited. I get excited just looking up, learning the chart, looking over the charts and seeing what I can learn, right? So I look for opportunities, and in this video, we are looking at opportunities and by way of inside day candles. So let me go ahead and give my disclaimer, right? I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth, and the stock market is just one of those avenues. So, with that being said, this video is for educational purposes only. So, yeah, let's get started. So, y'all, we are looking at inside day candles, and what that means is by looking at the daily chart, this would be the mother candle. This is the inside day candle. In my way of understanding it, this candle fits inside of this candle. That's why it's called inside day candle. And what I normally do is mark the high and low of the inside day candle, and I use the mother candle as the target price, right? So looking at the first one, which is Apple. So if Apple breaks above 172.23, then the target for Apple will be 173.60. If Apple breaks below 170.51, then the downside target will be 170.11. Keep in mind, Apple closed at 171.48. So it could go in either direction, and looking at it on this daily chart, it is under the 5 EMA. So that's something to think about. So if you trade Apple, you could definitely set your alerts at those places to let you know your trigger points and trade what you see. I say that often, always be mindful, trade what you see. So the next one is CCL, or Carnival Cruise Line, if you trade that. So the inside day trigger, if it breaks above 1713, then the target is 1768, which is not a lot, but the stock itself only moves 59 cents a day. So that is, yeah. Okay, so to the downside, the trigger is 1631, and below that gives us a target of 1617, and again it closed at 1634. So it could move in either direction. It too is under the 5 EMA on the daily chart. It could very well come down and find that support right here at the 50 EMA on the daily chart. So that is doable to the downside. Again, nothing is guaranteed in the market. Trade what you see. If you trade Carnival Cruise Line, set your alerts, pay attention to your alerts, and know that anything is possible, right? So Coinbase, or Coin, is another inside day candle, and the trigger price is 270.79. That means if coin breaks above 270.79, then the target is 276.61. Anything above 270.79 gives us a target of 276.61. Anything below 257.91, which is here, 257.91 gives us a target of 253.95. It too is under the 5 EMA on the daily chart, which could very well, it could go either direction. Let me say that. Just keep in mind, it closed at 265.12. One of the things I try not, the market can do what it does, right, at any given moment. So we trade what we see. I say that often. Trade what you see. So Google, GOOG, is another inside day, and those targets were so close to one another, so close to one another. And let's see. So Google, to the upside, the trigger is 152.67. 152.69 gives us a target of 152.67, which is not a lot. As you can see, these 152.67, 152.69, not a lot of movement, right? And Google moves $3.37 a day. So right now, my concern for Google, it came down and tested this 5 EMA. Are we going to come back down? Or are we going to go back up? That's something to think about. We could bounce off this and go back to the upside, but then again, anything is possible. I always say trade what you see, right? So the trigger to the downside is 151.33. And if we break 151.33, the downside target is 150.13. That is something to think about if you trade GOOG, which is Alphabet. And Let's see. The next one is Google LGOOGL, and that too is going to be a little bit close in number, right? So if the trigger point is at 151.32, if it breaks that level, then 151.67 is the high or the target. It too came and tested the 5 EMA, right? And below 150.27 gives us a target of 148.90. So I would, if you trade Google GOOGL, which is Alphabet, keep in mind it closed at 150.93. It could very well come down and test this 5 EMA again. And we don't know. If it breaks this, it could very well keep going down. Let me say that. It too moves $3.43 a day. Anything is possible. Let me say that. Lucid, it's not really expensive if you trade Lucid. I can give you the trigger points for that. Again, not financial advice. If Lucid, the trigger point for Lucid is $3.01. If it breaks that, 307 is the target. Below, if it breaks 283, the target is 274. Again, it closed at 285 and it moves 21 cents a day. So that's something to think about if you trade Lucid. If that's something that you like, set your alerts, trade what you see, trade carefully. I say that often, right? So Meta is an inside week. So this is a weekly target and not a daily target. That's something to be mindful of, right? So the weekly trigger is at $510. If we break $510, then the target is 515.04. To the downside, if we break the 485.15, then the target is 481.28. It closed at 485.58. So it too is under the 5 EMA on the daily chart. And it looks like it's the 5 and the 20 is about to cross. It could possibly cross on Monday. We don't know. Google does have a gap to the downside that would need to be filled at the 476.06 down to the 469. So that's something to think about. And Google, I keep saying Google, Meta, I'm sorry, we're talking about Meta with those targets, right? Meta has a ATR of $13.16. So let me go ahead and I'm going to go back and reiterate this again. So above 510 gives us a target of 515.04 for Meta. Below 485.15 gives us a target of 481.28. And those are weekly targets for Meta. Meta moves $13.16 per day, and it does have a downside gap that needs to be filled at the 476, starting at the 476.06 range. The gap will be filled at 469, right? So that's something to think about. And if I'm not mistaken, it has a few gaps to the downside for Meta. So again, if you trade Meta, trade carefully, trade what you see. Don't rush into your trade, set your alerts, and make sure you watch your trades because anything is possible. Again, not financial advice. So Marvell, MRVL, is a daily, it's an inside day. It is an inside day. So the trigger for Marvell is above 72.58, which is not a lot. Gives us a target of 72.77. Below 70.53 gives us a target of $70.35. It closed at $70.88, and it moves $2.86 per day. It looks as if it tried to come up and fill this gap to the upside, which would have been closed at the 73.46, and we didn't make it all the way. So can we go back to the upside to fill that gap? We could. Anything is possible. Can we come down and find support on this 5 EMA at the 69.50 and the 20 EMA? We very well can. I always say, listen, pay attention to your charts. Find where you're going to have trouble, which is your, support and resistance. See where your moving averages are if you use those, and whichever ones you use is okay, whatever works for you. So find where you're going to have trouble, label those places, and trade what you see. I can't say that enough, right? So Microsoft is an inside week candle for us. Microsoft is an inside week and an inside day. That is interesting. Yes. Okay. So this one, the numbers are so close to one another. Okay. So to the upside, the inside day, this is for the day. The inside day anything above 421.87 gives us a target for Microsoft of 424.45. And to the downside of that, anything below 419.12 gives us a target of 419.01, which is so close to one another, and yes, very close to one another. So let's look at the weekly target because it is an inside week also. So anything above 427.41 gives us a weekly target for Microsoft of 430.82. Anything below this 419.01 gives us a target of 413.78. And Microsoft moves $6.83 per day. Keep in mind it closed at $420.72. So it could move in either direction. It too is under the 5 EMA. So that is resistance right now. And we could very well come down and find support on this 20 EMA, which is at the 418.07. Right now, the 5 EMA at 422.11 is our resistance. At this point, again, Monday when the market opens, anything can change. Pay attention to your charts. Yeah. So NVDA is an inside day target. And NVDA, to the upside, the trigger is at 913. Anything above 913 gives us a target of 932.40. Anything below 891.93, anything below 891.93 gives us a target of 891.23. And keep in mind, it closed at 903.56. NVIDIA moves $38.92 per day. That's something to think about. So again, these prices are just targets. It could very well move higher than that or lower than that. It just gives us a guide, right? NVIDIA too is trading. It is under the 5 EMA on the daily chart, which is at 913. Let me see, 913.84 range. Let's see, 913.34. So NVIDIA is under the 5 EMA. The 5 EMA is at 913.34, which is our resistance right now. It could very well come down and find support at 880.48, which is the 20 EMA on the daily chart. Again, anything is possible. Just pay attention to your charts. If you trade NVIDIA, set your alerts. And yeah, I'm excited about that one. Plug is another one, Plug Power. If you trade Plug, it too does not have a lot of movement, but again, the stock only moves 26 cents per day. It closed at $3.44. It is above the 5 EMA, which is interesting. However, the 20 EMA still could be trouble. That could be our resistance area. And the trigger for Plug is above $3.51, give you $3.53, which is not a lot. So to the downside, below $3.35 gives a target of $3.20. So it's not a lot of activity, but if you trade those, mark your levels, set your alerts. And PayPal is another inside day. So the trigger for PayPal is at 67.72. Above that gives a target of 68.21. Below 66.43 gives a target of 66.14. And keep in mind, it too can very well, it is still above the 5 EMA, and we've been going up, right? For PayPal, it could come down and find support at 66.26, which will be the 5 EMA, or we can continue to the upside. Right now, it looks like it's in the gathering spot, as I like to say. It seemed like it's just consolidating on the daily chart. So right now, we really don't know. I would say pay attention to your charts. If you trade PayPal, mark your levels, set your alerts, and know that, we are still moving up. However, if it comes down, I will pay attention to that 5 EMA because that could very well be support. Something to think about, right? So the QQQ is the next one. It is an inside day and an inside week. So let's do the inside day first. Anything above 445.64 gives us a target of 446.54, and that's for the inside day. Anything below 443.65 gives a target of 441.93, and that's for QQQ. It moves $4.98 per day. It closed at 444.01, and it too is resting right there. Seems like it's finding support at that 5 EMA on the daily chart, which is right at 444, maybe 95. Let's see. It's at 444.05. So right now that is the 5 EMA is at 444.05 on the daily chart. So let's look at the weekly target. If QQQ breaks above 447.23, then the target is 449.34. If it breaks below 441.93, then the target is 433.33. Make sure I have that right. 433. That's a tongue twister. So anything under 4, let's see what this last one is. Anything under 441.93 gives us a target of 433.33. And again, that is an inside week target, weekly price target, and not the inside day. It is an inside day and an inside week, so that's something to think about if you trade the Qs. Charles Schwab is an inside week. This is a weekly target or weekly price. Anything above, let's see, 72.60 is our trigger. It gives a target of 72.94. To the downside, anything below 70.88 gives us a target of 66.67. And Charles Schwab moves $1.30 per day. It closed at 72.34. It too has been moving up, and it seems as if it tested this 5 EMA here. Does that mean it's going to continue to the upside, or can we come back down and find support on this 5 EMA, which is at 71.62? Again, I would just watch those areas, watch your levels. If you trade Charles Schwab, trade what you see. It looks to be creating a gathering spot, in my opinion, on the daily chart. It looks to be creating a gathering spot here, and I would normally mark those levels and trade once it break out of that area. To me, that's a great example of a gathering spot on the daily chart, and I'll show you how I would mark that. The gathering spot for me is just like consolidating. It's not going too many places, but as of right now, that's the area that it seems to be consolidating. I would set my alert above this level of 73.18 or below this area of 70.74, and I would trade it in that area that it broke out of a gathering spot, or it broke out of consolidation. That's something to think about. Again, that's just how I trade, and this is not financial advice. I just, let me throw that in there. So SMCI is really interesting, and if you trade it, you have to have some patience because it moves in a different speed. Let me say that. Very different. So it is an inside day, and the inside day trigger is at 1,033. Above that gives us 1,047.81. The downside trigger is 997.02, gives us a target of 986.34. What's interesting about this stock is it is under the 5 EMA, which the 5 EMA is at 10.1162. So this stock moves $88.66 per day. $88.66. It was $100 a day, which was interesting. It closed at 10.10.03, $1,010.03. So either direction, it can move $88 up or $88 down. It had a gap that needed to be filled, and as you can see, we've already closed that gap. To my understanding, there is some still downside gaps that need to be filled to the downside at the 777 range. Can we come down to that area? We very well can, right? Anything is possible with the market. Again, trade what you see. Right now it's under the 5 EMA, so that is resistance at the 10.1162. Support can be at the 99388, which is the 20 EMA. If we break that level, we could very well come down. We could very well come down. So the SQQQ is the next one, and let's see, the SQQQ, and then that one is so close. So I'm gonna come back to that one, and the TQQQ. Those are ones I normally don't trade, and they're very, very close to one another. So I'm just going to say those are inside day candles. I would say be careful with those and trade those. If you trade the TQQQ, the 62.23, and above that gives 62.63. 61.40 to the downside gives you 60.71. Let's say that. 60.71 to the downside. It moves $2.06 a day, and 61.56 is where it closed. So with the TQQQ, let me say that it too is right there at the 5 EMA. It seems like everything is where the 5 EMA. That's interesting. And we could very well come down and find support here at the $60.74. That's interesting. So I'm going to go back to the S because it was on the list. I kind of felt bad for that. But those numbers are so close to one another. So with the SQQQ, let's see, I'm going to readjust that. Okay, so our triggers are very, very close. If it gets above $10.50, $10.62 is the target. If it gets below $10.36, then the target is $10.28. So those are very close, very, very close. And it moves 38 cents per day. It closed at $10.48. So that is interesting. That's why I said those numbers are very, very close. And it seems like it's right there at the 5 EMA. It looks like the 5 EMA is resistance. Yes, it looks like the 5 EMA is resistance right now, and that's about at the 1046 area. So that's something to watch, y'all. Again, these are just guide. It's a guide to let you know that these are possible targets. Nothing is set in stone with the market. Keep that in mind. Be mindful of that. Anything can change in any given moment. The VIX is also an inside day. I normally look at that in the mornings pre-market. And the VIX is under the 5 EMA right now. The 5 is resistance for us, right? It could very well break that. If it breaks 1310, the target is 1334. If we come down and break below 1284, then the target is 1266. That's something to think about, something to be mindful of, right? So keep in mind, if the VIX is down, that means the SPY goes up, or if the SPY is up, the VIX is down. I have to say that so many times in order to get it right, but that's not always the case. It can change, let me say that. So again, I hope these are very, very helpful for you. If you trade any of these positions or stocks, please be careful. Trade what you see. Mark your levels. Wait on your alerts. If you set your alerts and go in once you see your signal, pay attention to your charts and make money, y'all. Have fun with it. Have fun with it. Let me say that. So I am so grateful, so thankful that you've taken the time to listen today and learn with me. So I am Dee Dee here at the Filling Station. Thank you again for listening, for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. I am super, super grateful for that. And I always like to leave you with this, y'all. Be blessed as well as a blessing unto others. Until next time.